I have never had this much trouble 100%ing a game and actually keeping it that way. Okay, so Turf Wars is the second DLC pack released for Marvel's Spider-Man, and this is my sort of quick take on it. There won't be any spoilers here, and I'm not really going all that in depth, these are just sort of my quick thoughts on it. All in all, I would say that Turf Wars was more satisfying than the heist was. While the heist did do some things that I was pleased with, and while I think that it was probably one of the better portrayals of Black Cat that I've seen, I still felt like we had kind of been there before, and I think I also might have just been a little exasperated. With it coming off the heels of the main game so quickly, I think I might have just been a little burnt out of Spider-Man at the point, and it probably didn't help that I had just spent the past 5 months writing reviews of every single 3D Spider-Man game in existence. So that's not something I really hold against the game, that's just sort of where I was at the time. All that being said, I was actually pretty pleased with the story here. It felt a little more complete than the heist did. I actually felt like we got a beginning, middle, and end, and while it is still very obviously building up to the conclusion, which will be in the Silver Lining, the final DLC pack, I still felt like we had something better here. There was actually stuff that was done with the characters, certain events that took place that I wasn't really expecting until maybe a sequel to the game, and I was impressed that it went as far as it did. I like Hammerhead a lot here. He's a pretty good villain, and I like the way he was designed. He had a lot going for him, and he was actually pretty intimidating. I thought what they did with Yuri was actually kind of brilliant, and if you've read the comics, you might already kind of see where they're going with this. There was some more flavor text with Miles Morales, and I really enjoyed that. And of course we got Screwball again, and honestly, this might be kind of the low point for me. Not so much in the challenges that Screwball gives you, actually I thought those were pretty well done. If anything, they were a bit more difficult than what I was expecting, and so they did give me a little bit of trouble, and I mean that in a good way. That being said, the variety wasn't really there, and I was actually kind of relieved when I thought that we were going to be wrapping up the Screwball stuff, and then it turns out, nope, she'll be back, and I wasn't exactly excited about that, but I'm not too disappointed either, if that makes sense. In terms of length, I thought it was decent. You know, I don't think it's any longer than the heist. It might have even been shorter, but it felt like it took place over a longer period of time. I think what helped was that it wasn't all set at night. You know, there was actually some changes in the atmosphere outdoors, and I felt like it was just more interesting to look at than it all just being black outside the entire time. I wasn't a fan of that in the heist, and I thought that this was a good improvement. I also like that there weren't any forced character stealth missions. Again, it was just Spider-Man from beginning to end. That's the way I want it, that's the way I like it. I'm hoping that the Silver Lining DLC does the same thing. And it helped that there were also Hammerhead hideouts to go infiltrate, there were Screwball challenges to go take care of, and, you know, obviously more crimes to go stop out along the city. And lastly, the unlockable costumes. There were 3 new costumes released for the game, and I actually really like all 3 of them. In the Heist DLC, there were a couple of costumes, but I really only liked one of them. The other ones I just didn't care about. I like all the ones here. There are 2 spider armor costumes, and I think they look great. One of them is a great throwback. The other one is just a nice realization of the one that was created for the Civil War comic, that being Mark II. And then the final one, I'm actually not super familiar with, but it does definitely look like it comes straight out of the Ultimate Comics universe, and I love that way that just the cel-shaded suit works. It looks so cool when it's in motion, and it makes me wonder what it would be like to try to do something like Ultimate Spider-Man, or at least a game in that kind of art style in today's world. I would actually be on board with seeing where that could go. So yeah, those are just my thoughts. I do still recommend waiting, to be perfectly honest. This isn't the kind of DLC that I feel like you can jump straight into. The heist does build up a lot of the things that happen in here, and the beginning of this DLC actually just straight up spoil what happened in the heist, so this isn't the sort of one that I can just recommend that you jump into without playing the heist. You gotta play them all in order, and I do still feel like if you want to get the most out of it, just wait 1 more month. In December, we'll get the final DLC pack. The City That Never Sleeps will be complete, and you can just play it all through. I am still planning on doing a video analyzing the whole City That Never Sleeps DLC release, in terms of story, gameplay, you know, all that good stuff, and just look at it as a full package. But with all of that said, those are just my thoughts. If you did play it, let me know what you thought of it in the comments, and I'd actually really like to have a discussion with other people about what they thought of it. There were still some sour points for me, but those are things that are kind of spoilery, and I would rather discuss those in the full video next month. So, alright, thank you so much for listening in. I love you guys, and I'll see you next mission.